like half a day.
For real.
Every time I do Oldtown, it always feels like I'm working 2 days in one.
You like it down here?
Oldtown? Yeah. I used to live here.
You used to live in Oldtown?
Yeah, bro. I used to live in Pack Tower.
What?
That's how I encountered Echelon for the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you like loitering on property or something?
Nah, I was working on my motorcycle and the what do you call it? The intercom, I don't know who it was, Ecom. They thought I was stealing a bike, so they called Michael Bach to come and investigate, and that's how I met Bach for the first time.
And he offered you a job.
Yeah, right.
That's what's up.
That's not how that goes. But yeah, no, it was fun. But that's how I got into security-ish, and it's been great ever since.
What would you say? So, like, you know, people that watch these videos, they don't really have an understanding, but we separate the city into districts just like you would if you were working for a law enforcement agency. Sure. What would you say is like the biggest difference between Oldtown and some of the other districts?
There's a lot of I would say what you encounter maybe is a little different than a lot of the other areas. A lot of districts, you know, you're client heavy and not a lot of, you know, dealing with homeless or things like that. There's districts that you have a lot of mandatory things to do. And Oldtown is primarily because you'll always have people in Oldtown. Sometimes maybe this is not a good thing to say, but
no, you're fine.
Sometimes it kind of feels like you're just shuffling people around Oldtown from place to place, because we have contracts with the majority of, or it seems like the majority of clients and businesses here in Oldtown, and a lot of times you're just shuffling you'll see the same person over and over on multiple properties.
Yeah.
So you encounter the same person multiple times throughout the day.
I would say that like this is probably the area that's hardest hit by the homeless epidemic and the drug epidemic, you know.
Of course, everybody comes to Oldtown. It almost feels like they push people into this area.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just how it is.
So if you're working in this district and you have more like interaction with people, if you're dealing with the homeless community, you're dealing with drugs, like why not just get into law enforcement?
Because my experience has been that law enforcement, unfortunately, in today's culture climate and things like that, seems to be a lot of bureaucracy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to deal with any of that. You know, I like security because, you know, you can get down to the nitty-gritty of things and still have that satisfying thing of being able to protect and serve, and you can have good relationships with people on the street as well, homeless people and things like that. And so you're kind of like you're doing that job, but without the badge, without the title of police officer. And I don't really know how much of police officers do what we do. You know, like unless they're, I would think that they have more specific things to do, like dealing with murders, dealing with homicide, dealing with those kinds of issues.
You know, the conversation is that they have more important things to do, but
that's what it sounds like.
But
right?
the reality is that, you know, termites will destroy your house.
Yes.
You know, and not paying attention or sweeping these things under the rug, like homelessness, drug addiction, mental illness. That's the stuff that unfortunately it rots your city from the inside out. So, you know, I get it that there's other issues. I wouldn't say they're more important issues. There's other issues for police to focus on, but the lack of community policing is what's gotten us in this predicament. I do wonder though, like you said earlier, that when you're working down here, you feel like you're shuffling people from one area to another. Like, how do you get any sense of accomplishment or satisfaction from your job if it's just like a repeating moving of one person from one building to another?
Well, I would say that like shuffling people is not all we do. You know, you have the you do have specific kinds of calls, dealing with a domestic violence or dealing with a person that's refusing to leave, dealing with you know, certain types of things that you know, make your day different than the mundane everyday kind of experience of, you know, having to loiter somebody or so on and so forth, which for me at least is it kind of makes the job. Again, for me personally, I've always wanted to be a cop, always wanted to be in that kind of field. For me, security at Echelon has been that sort of fix, if you will, if I needed to say something.
So I had a question for you. You know, when you look at the news, you know, we just had the elections. We just had the elections, not just the elections on the national level, but here in Portland. And people say that things are better. They're like, oh, you know, homelessness is better, crime is down. Like, when I look at this area of Oldtown, now, to be fair, this specific area right here 4 years ago would have been completely full, but there's still a lot of tents in this area, still a lot of issues down here. Like, do you think that things have gotten better down here, or is it still an issue?
I think that things haven't necessarily gotten better. I have seen police go out from time to time to do sweeps, if you will, picking up drug addicts and things like that. In that sense, yes, but there's still a lot of tents. I know there's a lot of there have been things that have been put into place, law, in terms of, like, for example, there was like a no camping ban and so on and so forth, but unfortunately the enforcement of those laws haven't been taking place. So for example, you can still have tents on businesses, properties, and things like that, but they haven't been, you know, working out in the way that you would think that it would. We do have Portland does have things like rapid response, and you do see them out from time to time, for sure. Let's get out the way from this car here. But again, there's really just a shuffling of people.
Yeah.
There's no real. It's not like you're gonna remove a tent and you'll never see that tent again.
Yeah.
You know, you'll see them on somebody else's property the very next day, maybe in a half a day.
When you're working your patrol, how do you interact with these tents and feel safe? Like, you know, if you're having to address, you know, somebody that's in one of these tents, you can't see them, you don't know who's in there, and by all intents and purposes, like, this is what they consider their home. How do you go about interacting with people that are in these tents and making contact and being safe? Like what's your thought process on that?
There's always a risk. Obviously, you never know what's going on, but my general experience has been pretty decent. Again, it's always always being able to welcome. You're always polite and kind, and again, I'm not police. I'm a private citizen, and everybody deserves dignity. Everybody deserves respect, and so that's usually when you go with that aspect, when you go with that kind of demeanor, your experiences go well, and offering resources help a lot. I'm grateful that with the company that we have resources to offer, and we get supplied with those resources frequently, and that approach has helped a lot in communicating and being able to relate with people in tents. Anybody home? Good morning. I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Nicholas. I do security for this property here. I'm only talking to you because unfortunately your tent is on our property. I know you got a big thing going on. Are you guys able to possibly find another location? Would you guys like some help moving your tent and things?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, that was a female that's in there.
Yep.
And I know a lot of times when we're working down here, you see women that are just at their absolute worst,
sure,
mentally and physically. How do you handle like the emotional toll of seeing women in these situations out here on the street? Like, does that bother you at all, or does it stress you out?
I think it used to a lot more than now. Again, I've been here doing this for 3 years. I've seen a lot, and we do our best to, if there's somebody in a very vulnerable situation, we do our best to try to contact, again, our resource officers, our outreach officers, and we used to have a lot more help in that respect to help them get off the street, get into a shelter type thing. But sometimes people don't want the help as much as you are willing and ready to help. And a lot of times, unfortunately here, sometimes people just are too far gone, or whatever the reason is, but they choose not to get the help that they need. So it's kind of hard. And in those moments, it's like, I've tried my best to help you, and I'm always willing and I'm always available for your help. And so with those things, it kind of gives a little relief knowing that, like, and again, a good thing with our company is that we don't have hotheads, and so a lot of our company officers are willing to be that hand of help. And with that comes a relief that, whenever you're willing and able and wanting to get off the street, you can, and we'll help you get off the street. Let's see what we got going on. Over there. Are you okay? My name is Nick. I do security for this property. Unfortunately, they gave me a call. If I didn't know the spot, maybe there's a signal or anything like that. Yeah. Sure.
All right, so what would you say to anyone who would potentially want to work for a company like Echelon or Echelon in general? What makes it different?
Echelon is different in the sense of where nobody here is trying to be a rent-a-cop. Nobody here is trying to be a wannabe police officer. If you do have a sense of a desire to do security with dignity, then Echelon is a company that you would like to work for.